Today is not going to be the same day I release this video, but I'm going to release this video on the 28th of December, which will be the same day as the VGCS. I believe Different Fight is going to be hosting in English as well, and it's going to be run by the Tycoon Milk, and we'll see what happens, okay? We'll see what happens on that day itself. But today, I have a personal stake in that. One of a friend of the channel, mcrafter3000, he is playing on behalf of a bunch of other people with God knows who. And today I wanted to talk about a deck that I know he personally loves a lot, and a deck I also love a lot, and many of my closest friends, family, who have played this game with me for many years have enjoyed. And today I want to talk about it because I believe it's a very important crossroads for the deck, and why we really need to look at how we print fucking generics. Hey, what's good guys, I'm DivineZ here. Today I am back to cover Dragonic Overlord, DN in DivineZ. Now, this deck, unlike the Blood, received only one card. And that one card is so strong, I need to talk about it today. This video is delayed again for a personal reason, but I just need to get this video done before this year ends because, my god, you guys need to know about it. And I will use the powers of clickbait to make sure that you guys understand how strong this card is. Previously, for Dragonic Overlord, and links in the description, I talked about Blazing Warcry and why I used to think Blazing Warcry was a very good card for Dragonic Overlord. And I wasn't alone. Many locals in Japan, all across the nation, were all trying this to, see how they could cheat Overlord into the soul, and generally it was a very fun experience with both Blazing Warcry as well as the previously established All the Hatchet Dragon. Overlord players were eating very well. A lot of them started to try soul synergy, soul support, because they had Blazing Warcry, they tried the order packages, and we generally had a blast, although that blast ended quickly when Blankdemire woke up. Again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, please check the links in the description for my previous Overlord support this year. But today, with DZBT06, we finally received one direct support for Overlord, which they claim is a generic Bellicosity Dragon. Now, Belicosity Dragon is clearly a kagero unit, so people telling you this is Vermillion support first need to learn their basic Japanese because clearly they are not capable of reading. But more importantly, this is in the flesh, in the blood, literal Dragonic Overlord support, and it solves all of Overlord's problems from his turn 2 game, turn 3 game, and turn 4 game, and that's why I really want to talk about it. So this video is going to be talking as if you have knowledge of Dragonic Overlord already. So if you don't, I will either try and explain the parts that are relatively newer, or if there are cards that are already pre-established, I do recommend you to please check the link in the description for the previous Dragonic Overlord DN deck profile. It will really help you because I don't really want to double cover a lot of the points that we've established for the last 4 years now. I will also put a link in the description for my Dragonic Vermillion The Blood deck profile in standard right now. So just in case you guys are also interested to see the other deck that Bellicosity Dragon could be played in, but of course that video comes with some warnings as well. No pun intended. So for the right deck right now, the right deck we still play Undoom. Undoom obviously is the kagero starter. Still love him to death. He's still my boy. Although, if they release Conroe, I guess a lot of people will get a lot more monkey shit, but this is kind of funny. Our grade 1, we actually are playing Varjula over Bar. And of course our grade 2 is Nahalem, and our grade 3 is DN. Okay, so I will talk about DN in the segment later, so I won't really cover him. And for Nahalem, he's just a really fun guy that says, oh, sorry, he's a really chill guy. I have to follow the meme wordings now. That's what you guys like to hear. So when Overlord rides on top of him, any Overlord's fine, you can call this guy out to a rear guard circle. Soul Blast 1 this unit, and the Overlord gain 5,000 power, which means Dragonic Overlord DN will move from a 13k base to an 18k base, and if you play the game normally, that will also be a 23k base. And he will multi-attack because of his Counter Blast 1 skill. So basically, he's Pocket Varga. Haha, I said it. Okay, everyone leave me alone. Now, why are we playing the grade 1 Varjula? Is because right now we have a very powerful grade 2 engine that requires us to not discard cards, period, because our grade 2 pieces are so important. For that interval from grade 1 to grade 2, you absolutely do not want to discard any card to write. With that being said, Varjula is easily the next best option because all he does is he takes 1 Soul Blast to superior right up as the right deck cost instead of discarding a card from your hand. And Soul is not an issue for this deck, as you will soon find out. But the other important thing you need to know about Varjula is that he promotes early rush, right? He gains 2000 power for every one of your rear guards when this unit is the Vanguard. But although that skill really doesn't matter because this deck really turns on turn 2 instead of turn 1, unlike Varjula. So yeah, that's really the only thing you need to know. I will put a link in the description though for the Varjula deck profile, just in case you are interested in that video. I think Varjula is a very interesting deck, and it having a generic right line till today, I still think has applications in a lot of Dragon Empire decks. So you can definitely still look into it. I do think it's relevant for consideration. But of course, for all intents and purposes, the point of playing Varjula in the right deck for the end is to save us hand on turn 2 and to save us counterblast, because Mars uses 1 counterblast, which means you can be counterblast denied by smarter players. By stupider players, no, but by smarter players, yes. And because of that, Varjula is very important in ensuring we always can use DN. But there is someone else who uses counterblast on turn 2, and we'll get to him in a bit. For our grade 3s, obviously we play 4 copies of Dragonic Overlord DN, because if you don't, we need to have a discussion. We play 4 copies of Ladder, no, 1 copy of Ladder and 4 copies of the original Dragonic Overlord, the base, right, the original guy. Now, I think we've kind of discussed this one before, but if not, I'm just going to go through it very quickly. Dragonic Overlord DN is obviously the main Vanguard of this deck. And you want to put him in the right deck because he can move Dragonic Overlord, the original, to Soul very easily. And so he's actually incentivized for you to do so over how Vermillion is forced to do so, right? The skill is that if you have Dragonic Overlord in the Soul, this unit gains 5000 power and its drive checks cannot be reduced. The second skill is that in end battle, this unit attacks, counter +1, choose 2 cards you have discarded. Stand this unit gets drive -1. So the idea is that you discard 2, stand it drive -1, so it's a net -1 for you to multi-attack. But with Dragonic Overlord on the Soul, not only is Overlord stronger, he gets to keep that drive check. And to make it a bit more spicy, we have a tournament promo from 2022, Harp. Harp turned himself from 1 discard into 2 discard costs. So basically speaking, just by discarding him, you get +1, right? But Harp also has his own skill that allows you to plus even further with more numbers on the board. So Dragonic Overlord DN, for all its minuses and weaknesses as a card, the whole deck is built to supplement that. And how on turn 4, if you have a persona right, which you do because this deck can search Overlord very easily, you generally are just fated to win the game from there on out. So it's actually very effective to play him in the right deck, unlike Vermillion. And not only that though, because this is just typical Overlord, you just want to keep cutting his neck as many times as possible, and this is the only way to do it. If you play Dragonic Overlord in the right deck, he doesn't really do anything on turn 3. Like, he clears the rear guard, sure, but that's it. And speaking of Dragonic Overlord, that is basically all he does. He's just a vanilla Garnet right now. He's not very good, but his only relevant skill is when he attacks the rear guard, your opponent can't guard. They can Blitz Order to stop him, but like, that's about it. So having Overlord as a rear guard, you know, it will happen because you play 4 copies of the damn guy. But it's nice to have someone who can just attack the rear guard really easily. But other than that, you just use him as discard fodder or for soul fodder because this deck can use him in very, very bizarre ways. Last but not least, our Regalics piece for this deck is very obviously Ladder. I know some people will say, oh man, I need the persona right, I need the persona right. No, you don't. Shut up. Now, Ladder is also very important for multiple reasons. 1, it gives you soul. 2, it turns Dragonic Overlord DN into a 28k base. Because when you cast Ladder, move into the soul, your Vanguard gets a passive 5k until the end of the turn. Which means if your Vanguard's a restanding Vanguard, you generally will get all those benefits as well. I will put a link in the description for my Blaster Blade Vanguard deck profile, as well as I believe at the point of this video's release, there will also be my MLB video for DZBTO6. So if I do, then okay, you will also get the link to that in the description below. And because Blaster Blade the Vanguard's also a restanding Vanguard, hypothetically, you can also play ladder in that deck. And it helps you cross a lot of magic numbers for Blaster Blade since it's only a 15k Vanguard. What more about DN, who is a whopping 23k fat ass on the board? You might as well. The board protection always helps you a lot because your front row has a lot of strong rear guards that you don't really want to keep calling over. But the ladder skill for the defense wise is really secondary. The main power and draw skill is just so impactful for DN. You want that on. I know some people are huge fans of Drag Resonance. I've heard you all talk before. I know what your gimmick is, but very frankly, the problem with Drag Resonance is that power is not the issue for Dragonic Overlord. As you will see later, we have a whopping 8 grade 2s that just all gain power when Overlord attacks. I don't think you need to go -1 for more power to kill people, especially because Dragonic Overlord can go first nowadays. You really don't need to wait for, an additional 10k to the front row and that will kill him. No, what will kill him is crits, triggers, and magic number rushing, which I can prove to you this deck can do later on. And moving on to the grade 2s, our grade 2s, we play one copy of Nehalem in the right deck. I love this guy to death. I mean, he's one of the most iconic kagero cards of all time. If you're an old person, you definitely know who he is. But frankly, I don't see myself playing more copies of him in the main deck because he's a bit slow. But you know who isn't slow? 4 copies of Bellicosity Dragon, 4 copies of, this is Burning Horn Dragon, 4 copies of all the Hatchet, and for defensive wise, 2 Defensing Raw. Defensing Raw, as you always know, is just another blitz order that says, this unit, choose one of your rearguards on the Guardian Circle, it gains 10,000 shield, and when retired, go back to the hand. So, Blazing Warcry, just not Blazing Warcry, Defending Raw basically allows you to replay one of your triggers defensively, or one of your intercepts, or one of your rearguards, or one of your Guardian cards, just on the defensive run. And because Dragonic Overlord has so many high impact pieces right here, you will be incentivized to use Defensive Raw, which is why I played as a 2-off. I know people who like to play this at 4, and then they play Faha at 4, and then they loop draw, loop draw, loop draw, loop draw. Overlord doesn't need that. I'm very sorry. I don't know where you guys get these ideas from. I think it's very cute, but you don't need that. And that's because the Overlord support is so good. Let me show you. Let me show you the end of the road. And that will be with Burning Horn Dragon as the first one. Burning Horn Dragon is a card that is, I believe, about 3 years old at this point, so I'm not really incentivized to talk about him, but he is a very core card in this deck, and his importance triples in this version because of Bellicosity. Burning Horn Dragon, when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, counter blast 1, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 Overlord card from among them, add it to the hand. If you fail, you counter charge 1. This is the guy that innovated how compensation works in Standard, but beyond that, he also gives you a way to instantly top 7 for an Overlord on turn 2. And that's very important because you want to secure your persona rights, you want to ensure Overlord is now in your hand, right? The base version is in your hand. This is very important because in the previous version, we were just trying to blindly use Blazing Warcry to dig the top 7 and chuck him into the soul, and then we clap our hands and say, we are the strongest players on Earth. But we don't need to resort to that now. Overlord's consistency is now further than anything we've possibly imagined. And with a top 7 searcher, you now have 2 options to use the base version of Dragonic Overlord, either by putting him into the soul or putting him into the drop zone. Again, I have played this deck a lot. I can really tell you that this deck's play is so structured. You could even train an AI to play this deck, okay? So now all my previous Overlord comments about how Overlord players are brainers and monkeys, no, now even the computer can do the same thing. But the madness does not stop there. Burning Horn Dragon, for every time your Overlord Vanguard attacks, gains 5,000 power, which means by himself, he's a 20k beatstick on turn 3. Now that doesn't sound a lot given standard numbers, but you have to understand that this is right off the heels of a 23 to 28k multi-attacking Vanguard with 4 drive checks. That is a lot of power to be throwing towards a 10k Vanguard, even if you're going second. So again, this guy, Burning Horn, is still an absolute 4th in his deck. He helps you secure your Overlords. And why does it matter? I'll show you. First and foremost, I'll talk about Alder Hatchet first, because I believe you guys are more familiar with him. Alder Hatchet Dragon, when you have an Overlord card in your soul, this unit gains 5000 shield. Again, this is one of the fun ways we can use Blazing Warcry for, because it is a 10k shield target, right? The second skill is the main skill to enable it. Retire this unit on the rearguard circle. If your opponent is grade 3 or greater, choose an Overlord from your drop zone, put it into the soul. This is the way to recycle your Dragonic Overlords from your discard fodder or your guard fodder, or anything that made him land in the drop zone. He now moves to the soul, and with that, half of the Dragonic Overlord the end condition is automatically achieved. Alder Hatchet Dragon is a card that I've seen a lot of people love, then hate, then rag on, and then curse to death. I think now the time has come for you to max Alder Hatchet. Previously, with Blazing Warcry, Overlord needed to be in the deck. But now that you want to hold all the lords as much as possible in your hand, this guy's utility has shot through the roof. Your Overlords are no longer dead draws, they now become soul fodder. Your Overlords also give you shield, your Overlords also give you utility, which Alder Hatchet is the only guy that does that. Frankly, this is a promo card that has aged very well in my opinion. I think this guy is super important right now, because if you want to use Overlord for a defensive edge, you use it with Alder Hatchet. If you want to use Overlord for an offensive edge, now I've tickled your balls enough. It is time, Bellicosity Dragon. At the moment of this video's recording, I have no idea what this guy's price is on Yurite, but if I had to be a betting man, I would easily say it's over 1,500 yen. When this unit is placed on a rearguard circle, Energy Blast 3, choose a card from your hand and move it to the soul and draw 2 cards. It's the main. It's the main for Energy Blast 3. Do you understand how good that is? You get 3 energy a turn. Guys, you can do this endlessly. Like, all your counter blast is solved just for Overlord. You now can just use this for free, because there's no one else in the damn deck that uses energy. Why? And not only that though, you get to draw 2 cards, right? So you call Bellicosity Dragon, you move a Dragonic Overlord to the soul, you draw 2. You already have the guy on the board, you already have the card on the soul, you got a +2. +2! I don't get it, man. Like, this card is so busted, and the brokenness of this card gets even further with the second skill. When your Vanguard attacks, Bellicosity Dragon gains 5000 power until the end of the turn. Yes, that sounds very deceptively easy, right? I mean, when you attack in the Harlem, it's just a +5k, which means Belicosity is a 15k grade 2 attacker. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. But what happens when my Vanguard attacks twice? Bellicosity Dragon is now an honorary version of our good friend from before, Burning Horn Dragon. He is also a 20k attacker on turn 3. So now you have 8 copies of 20k grade 2s on turn 3, which means your front row will generally be striking for a minimum of 33,000 power. 33,000 because you will see the list later, but you have to understand that's pretty insane, right? 33k after your Overlord has attacked twice, right? And then he threatens you with at least 1 critical trigger or just 1 front trigger. We play front in his deck. It's unstoppable. It is unstoppable. For Vermillion, the problem is that Vermillion only attacks once, so this skill is only capped to only 15k, which is why I'm very hesitant to play this in Vermillion, right? It's not as good as it is in Overlord, who clearly gets all the gas, right? You get 20k, you get a draw 2. I just can't explain it. And unlike Vermillion, Overlord has the facilities to play extra garnets in the main deck, because you have cards like Bellicosity Dragon as well as Alder Hatchet, who really cover up your offense and defense one by one. What the hell does Overlord have for... Not Overlord. What the hell does Vermillion have for defense? I don't know. Nothing. So, like, really, it is a shame that they took away one of the slots for Vermillion to give to Overlord. But frankly, this is the strongest card they could have printed for Overlord. I think most Overlord pilots, after Blazing Warcry, a lot of them were saying they just wanted a good grade 2 to support Burning Horn Dragon as an attack target, and I think they printed the most dangerous thing possible. And the main with no stat reduction and 20k? Hey, you gotta sign me up, man. You gotta sign me up. The rest of the great ones in this list are very easy. We play on Varjula, as previously discussed. Again, if you are wondering why, just scroll back to the timestamp. We play 4 copies of Harp. Harp is a very strong card in Overlord. He's basically a 13k booster, and you generally use it with your discard folder. I won't go so much into depth. He's kind of already accepted as a 4-off. If you don't know why, please check the links description for my previous Dragonic Overlord DN deck profile. It would save me a lot of time. We play 4 Perfect Guards. Now that we are not playing Bar, you can swap this out for a 4th copy of our regular Perfect Guard. But because we are playing in Chronos Command format, you will still need to play Sanctitude. And last but not least, our final grade 1 is Multiple Strokes Dragon. I've seen a lot of YouTubers say, oh my god, this is the masturbation joke guy. Shut up. Please shut up. You guys are sleeping on a secretly broken card, and let me tell you why. When your opponent's drop has 5 or more cards, this unit gains 5,000 power and 5,000 shield. Deceptively, this is just a 13k booster and a 10k shield. Why does that matter for Dragonic Overlord? Very simple. You are playing a deck that grinds your opponent in the face for multiple magic number intervals of at least 20, 33, 28, 33, and those are numbers that your opponent are very likely to guard for, right? Because they don't want to take damage early. When they do that, they fill the drop easily, and you're very easy for your opponent to get 5 cards in drop. Again, we are not playing in a Gandiva format, at least not yet. So, Multiple Strokes Dragon is incentivized as not only a more aggressive version of, what's his name? Tensha Steed? No. What is his name? I feel like I referenced this guy before in this video. Oh no. The Grade 1 triple rare from DBTO3. The double rare, the Stealth Dragon. I can't remember his name. Let me know in the descriptions below if you know who I'm talking about. No, the comment section below. Oh, I'm really losing my memory. But, yeah, so basically, this guy, on earliest turn 2, or sometimes turn 3, can be a 13k beater for emergency reasons. But the other reason is also because he's a 10k shield, and you can easily replay this guy for offense and defense, as long as you just have, you know, Defensing Rod. Because Defensing Rod lets you replay a card from your hand from a Guardian Circle. So again, this deck is very simple. You don't actually need to think a lot, because a lot of the gimmicks of this deck are just Kagero numbers deck, magic numbers, Dragon Empire, restand Vanguard, win. Very simple. This slot can easily be replaced with more technical cards or more advantage cards, but right now, Overlord above all else just wants to go out for blood. Like, no pun intended, this guy can really put the end for your opponent as long as you just get magic numbers and attack, right? Because going first is no longer an issue with Bellicosity Dragon. Previously, you needed to go second for all the hatchet, but now you can just go first and cut his neck and just win so easily, man. So easily. Last but not least, our grade zeros. Our grade zeros obviously is Undo, but you can play any starter you want because Varjula is a generic, so it doesn't matter anymore. Although I would still recommend you in good faith to play, you know, Undo because he's Kagero, right? You want to stay faithful. Because we are playing aggressively, I think my entire trigger lineup is predictable. 4 heals, 3 fronts, 8 crits, 1 drop better. Okay? Very simple. It's just max aggression. And that will wrap up my deck profile for Dragonic Overlord. The end. But in a way, it's also a discussion video about Belicosity Dragon. Honestly, Belicosity Dragon is insane, right? I think if this video hopefully was able to prove to you, I sincerely think this card is potentially ban list worthy. But the thing about Belicosity Dragon is he represents something greater. He is the only divine support Overlord received in the entire year, right? Everyone got divine support earlier on. Overlord had to wait a whopping 12 months for him to get this one card. We had Blazing Warcry in June, but Blazing Warcry was never for us. It was meant for the omnipotent god known as Blaze. So the fact that right now we finally have a support on our own, frankly, I think this is enough cause to celebrate. I just hope that Overlord players were able to afford this damn thing, because it is not cheap. But if you can afford it, I can wholeheartedly endorse that this guy is worth the money. 20k beat stick, moving Overlords to Soul, multi-attack, magic numbers, resource draw, everything is printed into one card. If they gave this kind of card to Majesty or Blaster, I wouldn't even be doing this video. I would have earned enough money from WGB Tokyo. I wouldn't even need to do this channel anymore. But this guy is for Overlord, and that's what makes it so fun. Frankly speaking, if I get a chance to bring Overlord to a high level tournament with 4 Bellicosity Dragon, you better bet your ass I will. Because this guy is just so fun right now. As long as the meta doesn't find a way to defensively creep Overlord out of turn 3, I think this guy can stay for at least another 10 years in standard, which is insane. Kaitoshiki, this set really was for you, but frankly, I think only one of your decks really benefited, and that would be the end. In the future, I would love to see a reality where both of my Narukami and Kagero based decks can stand together on a tier list. I would love to see the day where all of us can enjoy the fruits of our labor at the end of the Asia circuit and say, wow, we both succeeded. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.